Hey, guys, how are you? I have a really neat guest for today. Her name is Swami Nityananda. She is a spiritual leader of the Awake Yoga Meditation community. She was consecrated by Swami Shankarananda as a Swami in 2014. We're going to learn today what that even means. Her teachings help listeners and readers connect with the reality of love, wisdom, liberation, joy, harmony, and kindness. People who meditate with her find Swami practices as a selfless way of living in the world that asks, how may I be of service? And models through open-hearted, generous, effervescent guidance, a path for us all to recognize our own inherent divine qualities and to see the same in everyone. I love what this woman does. She earned her PhD at Vanderbilt University, and she has held Fulbright grants in New Zealand, Germany, and other national awards, including an Andrew W. Mellon Fellowship and an NEH grant. Her book, Tattooing the World, Pacific Designs in Print and Skin, was published by Columbia University Press. Her scholarly articles have appeared in respected journals in many English-speaking countries. She right here is a woman that I'm just fascinated to get to know. We're going down a sort of a unique path with her, and I'm really looking forward to learning what she does and what she believes. So I just ask that you keep an open mind and, see if you can find your effervescence, your spiritual insight, your kindness for yourself, your highest self in this conversation. And I always tell people, and I tell myself this, look for your pearl in this conversation. Find the thing that will illuminate for you and will have you see something in yourself that is now going to be profoundly changed and transformed into something better than it was before. And without any further ado, I am going to bring this lovely person on. Hey, guys, how are you today? It is Alison from Alison Answers and Logger Counseling Services. I have Swami Nityananda. Did I say it well?
You're perfect.
Okay. So what I had said in the bio, I'm just going to piggyback on because I had an opportunity to speak to Swami pre-recording. And this woman is a delight. And I could feel it. I could feel the energy. I just know that we're going to have fun. I can feel, and I just ask that you would sit, or if you're driving, don't sit or write anything down, but just listen in terms of your own self and find your pearl. Try to find the illuminated part of the conversation that you just, when you feel it, when you hear it, it lights up, and you know that that one thing has the power to change your life. That's all I ask you to do today. So, Swami, I am thrilled to have you. I think that I don't know, I just feel like we're just going to be friends.
Alison, it's a joy to talk with you.
Oh, thank you. So we should just kick off our conversation. Can you just tell the listeners just how you got here? What made you become this spiritual dynamo? Tell us about you.
Well, thank you for that description. So I guess I would actually say, I've just met Alison. It's an absolute pleasure to talk with you, and you're a spiritual dynamo too, I can tell. And so that's the basic premise. I'm at a meditation community in Baltimore, Maryland, and the name of the community is Awake Yoga Meditation. And it was founded by my teacher, Swami Shankarananda, and he was an absolute spiritual dynamo. And so just an absolute joy and inspiration being his student and then sharing the teachings that he shared with me. And so I grew up in Washington State, in the northeast corner of the state, and I was aware of nature. Like nature there is kind of unavoidable. It's like this force, and you have to kind of come to terms with it. And I think each person does it in their own way. And for me, I was just aware my body was connected to nature, nature was connected to my body. And so it was just a very natural part of my awareness. And so this sort of, I guess you could call it almost like a natural connectedness or natural oneness was part of my earliest awareness. And then definitely like when I came into contact with yoga, when I came into contact with meditation, and then especially when I met my teacher, Swami Nityananda, which happened in 2010, there was like this huge burst of recognition and spiritual flourishing and joy. And it's just an absolute joy to share the teachings from the yogic tradition.
Just to I didn't realize this about you in terms of like the natural surroundings, because that's one of the things that as I became, I had a really huge tragedy in my life. And as I became, and in response to that, I was spiritual, but this was like a kick start to something like burst me into like a higher spiritual plane or a deeper spiritual plane. And I could not get enough of trees, flowers, plants. I could feel, I lost my husband. I was in a devastated state. So I had to be, I felt myself being pulled outside, and I would be outside, and I thought I was losing my mind, literally, because I love nature, but I would just have to walk, and I could, people may think this is weird, but they know me, so then they'll know it's weird. But anyhow, well, it is. So anyhow, so like I could feel the trees loving me. I could feel, I was like, oh my God, I felt like they were surrounding me and engulf and just taking care of me. And I needed to go be with them. And that is kind of, and I would go sit by the flowers, and I could sit, and I felt like, how do I say, I know you know what I mean. They were interacting with me, but it wasn't with words. It was a love, comforting, wow experience. So now I'm in love with them.
Respect. I mean, respect and caring for everything that you just shared, for your spiritual honesty and for your courage. And I would also say, so what you just shared presents an invitation for any listener. So that you just shared for your story, for your journey, an encounter that you had with an experience of devastating loss. And then the question is always for each human, how do I move through that devastating loss? And so you moved through it, and it became an opening into an even deeper awareness spiritually and into an even deeper connectedness with the natural world. And so it's a really beautiful invitation for all of us to, whenever we do feel tragedy, whenever we do encounter it, don't seek it out, but when it comes as you go the way of life, to allow yourself to open to the wisdom, to open to a deeper connectedness on the other side of that tragedy. And then what you were describing, I would also just say, I respect and understand what you were putting into words. We're all part of a field of energy, and you were being aware of that field of energy. The trees are very much established in that energy of the natural world. You could call it beingness, you could call it the energy of universal kindness. And yes, the plants, the animals, the trees, kids as well can be part of this. Elders as well can be part of this. People who are sort of aware of energy, you can just sort of see they're part of this field of awareness as well. And that kindness does reflect to you. And as we are aware of that, there's a deep healing that occurs. And then on the other side of that, I'm curious to hear what you would say about this, but I've heard people talk about on the other side of facing a loss like that, then sometimes they end up like having an incredible burst of, like, it could be professional growth, or it could be moving in a new direction in their profession, or it could be like a deep creative kind of unfoldment, so that they end up writing a book of poetry or something like that. So I'm curious to know if you feel like sharing what you noticed on the other side of that.
That's very interesting because I think what I'm always looking toward growing and advancing, and like there's almost like this drive in me. I'm always looking for the next, step. And I've had this business for so long. It's been my whole adult life, the counseling centers. So what I think happened was, and it's very interesting because prior to this tragedy, I'm sure you've heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I don't know, yeah. So like so I was going on these advanced week-long retreats, and we would meditate like for 4 hours. We do the pineal gland meditation. Like I had such unbelievable experiences, supernatural experiences. And right before this, I had this experience where it was so clear that I was not my body. I mean, and what I was experiencing spiritually was so profound. And I'm sure that it was my preparation for this tragedy. And when I was on this retreat, I remember being at the airport, and I was late to the airport, and none of it mattered. There were people everywhere. It was like, like there couldn't be a more stressful place, I think, in the world than the airport, maybe the Department of Motor Vehicles, but like totally like swamped with people. And it looked like everybody was mad. And all I felt was love. It was so much love that nothing could touch me. Nothing. But then I came home and I had this unbelievable tragedy like the day after. So that did touch me, believe me. But I didn't understand how I could have had this unbelievable experience and then that happened. But I do believe that from just like seeking God or whatever, that it was caring for me, preparing me for this, experience. But in that, I had this opening to like the trees, and because we would do walking meditations. So we would go out and walk and experience like the trees were like, they were like cascading, like you could see the like the frequency, like it was just unbelievable. So yeah, so I'm not, it's funny, I'm like, I don't know if I answered your question. It's like I feel like I should just be on your podcast. Anyhow, I'll go, but I love it.
Well, so I would love to bounce a couple of things off you,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. I mean, so one of the things that I would just invite listeners to tune into for themselves, because what you just shared was incredibly profound, incredibly beautiful, incredibly precious. And I just want to reflect back to you and then invite listeners to connect with this as well, that this is, if we are, so whatever your spiritual or faith background is, connect with it as a source of strength and know that what Alison just described is true for you as well. So the divine is always giving us support. The divine is always giving us guidance, by whatever name you call the divine, or if you call it the universe, or you call it the cosmos, or your higher self, that's fair as well. And so Alison just named and described a truth for each of us. So that support, that guidance, that wisdom, that caring is present for each of us. And it can come in so many different forms. So that was the way that it shared with you. And it shared with you. I do completely agree with your understanding that your soul, the divine, was helping you be ready. It was establishing you in that awareness that you exist beyond the body. And so what that means is your husband also exists beyond the body. And so this is true for any listener, you exist beyond the body. You're not limited by the body. And the loved ones who have left the physical, as the yogis would say, who have passed, as we say often in our contemporary phrasing, their love is with all of us. Their strength is with all of us. Their awareness is with all of us. Their presence is with all of us. And so Alison was being given a glimpse of the connectedness and the incredible universal love and steadiness that supports all of us. So from a human perspective, we wouldn't choose these tragedies. And, we would say, no, please, like,
I'll pass. Yes.
non-preferred.
Yes, right.
I will lovingly let that go. But from a soul perspective, we could put it this way: from a soul perspective or from a life path perspective, that experience pretty clearly was part of your pathway and part of your unfoldment. And so the divine was with you, helping you move through that with as much wisdom, as much grace, as much strength, as much courage as possible. That doesn't mean it's easy every single moment. And so for listeners, it's to invite each person to connect with your own faith, your own spirituality, your own strength within yourself, your own sources of inspiration. And that wisdom, that guidance will always be with you, no matter what it is that you're walking through. And it gives you this sort of sense of peace. And it can also give you a sense of calm, it can give you a sense of clarity. And it just lets you know, sometimes it really is just, I can take this next step forward. And then the one after that, that one will be evident as well. And then sometimes clearly it's like we put on 7-league boots and we're walking across the whole Milky Way. So sometimes it also feels like absolute joy as well.
It's so interesting to me because, I'm a person of faith. So I, have believed that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and just like have believed in God since I'm a little girl, always. And it just, and so the experience and I think when you were saying a profound difference, which is interesting to me, is that prior to this event, it wasn't an event, tragedy event, whatever. But prior to this all happening, me meditating and all of that, I have had very, very supernatural, unbelievable supernatural experiences just by it's still meditating. I didn't know then that that's what I was doing, but I would be silent and I would wait for God and I would have the most profound experiences. And then what confused me when I would go to these things is that it was so people weren't using the words, so then it was like so quantum field, but I knew that the quantum field was the same term for the river of life. And it's like this inexplicable joy and possibilities and omnipotence and and I definitely was in the river of life, the quantum field. There is no doubt. I felt my body was there, but I felt basically it didn't matter. An itch didn't matter. Nothing. I felt nothing. Because the love was so profound. And when Dr. Joe Dispenza would call us back, be like, come back to me now. I'd be like, damn, then I would be like, that sucks, basically there's my humanist. I'm like, I don't want to come back to you. And I think that we have made such, we don't understand. We're so afraid of death. And I don't think it's that big of a deal to God. I think it's we're just released from our body, which is where I think most of our suffering is. But anyhow, I want to interview you because I feel like you have so much. I want to ask you about respect because you use that language and you go like this. And you say respect. What do you say? Respect to you. What did you just say?
Yeah, so I say probably respect and caring or something like that. So yes, so is it okay if I just bounce off of you?
Oh, do it. No, do it.
About?
Do it.
Yeah,
yes.
I will.
don't want to forget that question because I'm so curious.
I'll come back to that question.
Bounce.
Okay, so I just want to share something that I think is deeply healing to humans who are in a body, and that is a direct awareness is present and available. Like you just described, a direct awareness of our own interconnectedness beyond the body. And from the yogic perspective, from the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, but this is also something that is directly available to meditators. And I'll maybe talk a little bit more about meditation later, because meditation is one of the most practical, pragmatic things that you can do. And so I'll say a little bit about that maybe later. But from the perspective of the yogic teachings, stay here every moment in the body that you possibly can, because it's a gift to be here in the body. Do not leave early, stay here. And when it comes time to leave, there is no need to be afraid. It is like stepping out of a garment. It is like stepping out of a pair of too tight shoes. It is like 1,000 birthday parties, and you are welcomed by the energy of absolute pure love. And so that's what Alison was just describing. And so just to allay any fear that humans might have about death, there's nothing to be afraid of, and choose to stay here every moment of your time that you're here in time and space. So one of the reasons why I use the term respect is that humans encounter, if you're looking at things from a human level, humans frequently encounter what is completely unbearable. And so Alison bravely described her loss of her husband. That's completely unbearable from a human perspective, if you look at it just from a human perspective. And so I say respect because I'm aware that you bore the unbearable, and that humans quite frequently have to bear the unbearable. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any human. It's part of being here in a human body, in a human heart, with a human mind, moving through time and space. We sometimes encounter things that are impossible to bear, and then we somehow must bear those things. And so the reason why I say respect is I'm acknowledging that. I'm acknowledging the excruciating pain that humans can experience, but I'm also acknowledging that the light in you and the light in every listener is undimmable. It is undiminishable. Nothing can ever touch it. And so I'm also aware of that, perhaps even more clearly than I am of the human pain that you're experiencing. I'm aware of the light that is at the core of you. And so when I place my hands in prayer in front of me, it is bowing to the light in you and honoring that the light in you is actually more real from my perspective than all of these other experiences that we have in time and space. And one of the reasons why I find that respect is such a really wonderful term is because it's just present. It allows us to be present to the human experience, but it also acknowledges that that core of strength that is present within you and within all listeners, within every being, is even more potent than any encounter or experience or loss or difficulty that we have in time and space.
What would you suggest to someone? Because when you said the word, I'm not sure what you said exactly, but it was about that, experiencing the unimaginable or the impossible or something like, and it feels like you can't get away from yourself. Like you can't get away from the pain, like no matter what you do, like, you can't run, like you shake your head, you can't get away. So I'm just wondering what you would say to someone who's in at any level of that, even if it's
Yeah,
like, we see people like dull chronic,
yeah.
like I think that, just them not knowing their value maybe.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. So, I mean, just to name, so there can be like physical pain, and as you mentioned, it can be dull chronic physical pain, but also could be like dull chronic emotional pain
yeah,
as
that's what
well.
I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mhm.
then there can be like acute pain physically or emotionally as
Yeah.
well. And so just to acknowledge those can be part of the human experience. And so one of the teachings that I particularly love, and so I'm naming this teaching from the Bhagavad Gita, so it's from the yogic tradition, but it works equally for you, whatever your faith or spiritual tradition is. Connect with the energy of devotion. And so the energy of devotion is that energy of pure love. It's the energy that will get you out of bed. So just think about someone. I'm inviting all listeners. Think about someone for whom you have a very pure love. Like it's just innocent, it's natural, it's pure, it's wholesome. Like you see them and your face just grins, like that kind of goofy grin, like you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
help yourself, like your
Yeah.
whole face grins, your
Yeah.
heart grins as well. Just that pure, spontaneous love. And then connect with that energy always, not only in relation to that human, but always fill your heart with that energy. It will allow you to move through the pain, whatever the pain is, and solutions are available. So that's the other thing that I would just invite people to know. Believe in your power to heal. Whatever the pain is that you are experiencing, and this is true, you might have spent your entire adult life in pain, you might have spent your entire life in pain. Believe in your ability to heal. And as you fill your heart with this energy of pure love, with this energy of devotion, you will find solutions. You will find the way to keep moving forward. And I want to be clear as well, the yogis are very honest and practical. They don't tell you to suppress it or repress it or deny it. They tell you to look at it clearly. But they also tell you, as you look at it clearly with eyes of love and eyes of wisdom, you're stronger than whatever you look upon.
Yes.
Your awareness is larger than whatever you look upon. And as you connect with this energy of pure love, it melts away obstacles. And so it brings solutions into view that would otherwise sort of never occur to your human mind. It will connect you with people, with creativity, with inventiveness, with ingenuity, with all kinds of healing modalities. Whatever the perfect healing modality is, it's there for you. And you will find it as you connect with this energy of pure love and pure devotion within yourself. And to keep doing this step by step. So steadily and patiently and kindly, if your body has been in pain for years, be patient and steady and kind, and continue filling yourself with this energy of pure love and pure devotion, and just step by step keep moving forward.
Do you do it like, I was saying before, like head, heart, feet, all in the same spot? Is it in the now that you're in? Or, I mean, I'm thinking it is, but also like meditating, like,
Yeah, so
mm,
yeah, so absolutely. So one of the things, so at Awake Yoga Meditation, our meditation center in Baltimore, we're geographically there, but people can join us online if you're interested in checking out our meditations. We begin by connecting with our feet on the earth. And that's really helpful because it anchors us to present moment awareness. It's also deeply calming. And so it can calm if you have been sort of in that energy of anxiety or that energy of just, our culture gives us lots of invitations to be continually kind of on. And
yes,
then we have to remind ourselves how to be calm and connecting with our feet on the earth. I mean, we can clinically measure the health benefits that
yes,
doing this has. And then we connect with the energy at the base of the spine, the energy that moves up and down the spine. The spine is very strong. And then it allows our heart to be very open. And that's a wonderful balance to have that strength and steadiness, the energy of wisdom and support, but also the open heartedness. And then we connect with between and above the eyebrows at the center of the forehead. And so this is just, we have perspective and awareness that is larger than the individual that each of us can connect with. And I would also say for people who pray, that one of the teachings shared by my teacher was that prayer is when we talk to God and meditation is when we listen to God. So for people who pray, to make sure that you give yourself the quiet to be able to listen and to be able to receive, because it really is true. I was just talking with someone yesterday who said, ask and you shall receive is true, but she had read this her whole life and she just realized it. She's like, it's actually true. And I'm only realizing it now because I really need to receive what it is that I'm asking. And so in her case, she was asking for peace. She was asking for healing for herself, because she'd had a challenging situation with a friend that had arisen. And she was noticing that when we really, really need what we're asking for and we allow ourselves to receive, the peace will come. The peace that passes understanding will come.
yes. Yeah, and it's the allowing, right? It's the,
Yes.
you know, receiving,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that's, I have a question for you about overwhelm.
Yeah. So this is one of the things I mentioned. I wanted to talk about just how practical
Yes.
meditation is,
Yeah.
because meditation, and I'll just mention the people who meditate with us, like they include doctors and surgeons and lawyers and scientists and super high powered people. And what they find, and also super creative people. and also people who work in a lot of different healing modalities. And what they find is that meditation brings them calm and clarity and focus within themselves. And when the calm and the clarity and the focus is here, the overwhelm melts away.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, it just is no longer present. And we are connected with sort of like, I'm trying to think of how to say this. When we go on vacation, we give ourselves permission to just be. Meditation lets us just be for a few minutes in the morning, for a few minutes in the evening. And we give ourselves the gift of that sense of spaciousness and renewal and freedom and freshness that we connect with on vacation, but we do it right in the midst of our daily life. And so then, of course, we find that, like we're in that high-powered board meeting or wherever it is that we are, there's inspiration, there's calm, there's joy. We are our best selves. And as we are our best selves, we're inviting everyone else silently to be their best selves as well. And there's that sense of like, when we're on vacation, we're sort of like exploring, and our curiosity has room to come out and play. And our sense of humor is present as well. And so it's almost like meditation lets you be on vacation in the midst of daily life.
Yeah.
And that connects us with so much peace and generosity and gladness. And so it's just the perfect antidote for overwhelm.
It really is. It's interesting. I would think that I would have come up with this a long time ago, but maybe I did. And I don't know, but I just recently, probably the last 2 weeks, because I've mistaken drive for no, I've mistaken overwhelm for drive, maybe. And because I'm like always thinking of a new idea. I'm like a visionary. I get excited over so much stuff. And I was, I always feel like stress is wanting to, stress is fear, and it's wanting to be somewhere other than where I am, or feeling the urgency, like there's a sense of urgency. And I was just in my house and I was thinking, what a practice I try to do is I try to, whatever I start, I bring it to completion. And I notice that it's very limited time. It's not a lot of time to do something and bring it to the end and stay with it. So I just started making a decision, which I really think is a power move, like I'm going to prioritize peace in every single thing I do. You like that? Like,
That's
you like it?
fantastic. Oh, it's so fantastic.
It really makes it, but I had to keep pulling myself. No, the priority is peace. And it would be like, I'm worried about this. No, the priority is peace. So if that doesn't happen, then what? And if you choose peace over that, then what? Like, peace will be better. Even if even if you don't, even I would ask myself questions like, well, if you didn't show up, or if you were 45 minutes late, you're the boss. Just choose peace. Like, what would happen? And it really does make a difference. Instead of worrying about what everybody's thinking, or there's so much, we're living so externally. I'm always trying to say, but we need an internal locus of control, as we're like, instead of reacting to everything. So I just love listening to you. What are you feeling or thinking about what I'm saying? I'm curious.
So, yeah, I think this is such a fun conversation because what you are doing is you are articulating based on your own. So let me just say it this way, like each human has the opportunity, like your body is a laboratory. You can put to test these teachings. And so please do, like, put them into practice in your own body, your own heart, your own mind, your own life. And what you just said absolutely is confirmed by yogic teachings. And so I would also just say, like, yogis are very practical, they're very pragmatic, and they say, don't take my word for it, just practice it, see what you notice. And so they say and they teach that this is verifiable, that the true nature of each of us, like at our core, is peace. And so what you are doing is connecting with your true nature. And so what you will find if you continue to move from this core of peace and from the center of peace is you will find that distraction melts away. You will have a sense of clarity. You will have a sense of whatever the next priority is. You will just have, oh, for today, that is the next priority.
Yes.
And there will be almost like this sense of so stewardship is a word
Yeah.
that came to me. Like each of us we are here, we are invited to be a steward for this body, to take care of the body, to keep it in good working order so that we can be helpful and hopeful and present in our lives. And the same things for our emotional life. Like we're invited to be calm and balanced and kind and steady and mature. And then this is obviously incredibly self-empowering, because as we are calm and balanced and emotionally steady and mature, we will magnetize into our lives humans who are the same. And so
Yeah.
our relationships then are in this uh, field of joy and field of wisdom. And that's back to that energy of respect as well, because we're then moving from respecting the strength and the steadiness within ourselves and trusting the strength and the steadiness within ourselves. And so then we'll be in that energy of respect and in the energy of trust with the humans we encounter as well. And so this is true for personal relationships, but it's also true for business relationships as well. And so you'll just find that, I'm trying to think of how to say this. Peace is our true nature. The more that we connect with the peace within ourselves, the more that, like whatever word you want to use for it, the more the whole world is able to move with us. And the more we are able to move in steadiness in the whole world. And so we lose that feeling of being cut off and separate. Our stress is often created by feeling cut off and separate.
Hmm.
So it's when we feel cut off and separate that we feel there's not enough, I'm not enough, there's like an incredible scarcity or competitiveness, or I have to be afraid of what other people think of me or what I think of other people. And when we have our own sense of peace and our own sense of, I think you might have used the word value earlier, we're honoring the
Yes.
light within ourselves, then we're also going to be honoring the light within others. And it's intrinsically with us. So then we're steady. And the yogis tell us, like in the realm of time and space, there will be victory. There will be sometimes things that feel not like victory. Learn from all of it, like keep the
Yeah.
wisdom, let go the pain, and keep moving forward. And when we're in that energy of peace, all of it works to good. All of it works to the ultimate benefit of our soul, our wisdom, kindness, whatever word you want to use.
Yes. You said, keep the wisdom, let go of the pain. I love that. And I feel like you're reading my mind, because then you started talking about, people worrying about what other people think, that whole thing. And that's like a plague. So like, and I'm definitely going to ask you this, because I'm like glomming everything I can from you so I can like get better as a person. But people, you could just talk amongst yourselves. We have things to discuss. But this is so, like, when I think about the course of my life, and when I, being even like a teenager or whatever, like throughout my life, I think about that I had such a low self-esteem. And I have spent my entire life building this self-esteem. So when I'll say to people like, yeah, it's really like I am my own best friend. Like I actually love myself, but it's taken me forever. And there are times that I don't. And I can see by the things that come in my life what I believe I'm worthy of, right? Because when things come in my life, like I could give an example. I have a dog that just keeps peeing in my house like constantly. And then I keep saying words that are like really not good. Like, oh my God, I can't stand this dog. Like I'll say that. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm bringing this back. So then I start to say, you're such a good, I love this dog. I love you. I have 4 dogs. I'm like, why is this happening to me? It's just an example. But all right, let me go back. So now let's say we have somebody on here 22 years old who just keeps getting in bad relationships. And that, I mean, that would have been me back then, 21, maybe I was younger. But then like, and it's because of what, and always worrying about, like if you leave a room, you think people are saying bad things about you, right? But no matter how much you know that you shouldn't be thinking it, you still do it. So I'm just wondering what you would say to somebody like that, younger, who hasn't found their love for self.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, just to any listener who, recognizes what we're talking about, you're human. There's nothing wrong with you.
Love
So,
that.
on one level, I mean, this is back to the respect thing. Like, respect the light in you. It is there. Like, whether you can feel connected to the light in you at this particular moment or not, have respect for the light in you. It is there. And then, right. So let's take as an example a 22-year-old, since you gave that as an example, and let's say that the 22-year-old is in the process of learning. So that's one thing that the yogis would say is, if the 22-year-old is being drawn to partners who are not honoring the light within the 22-year-old, then the 22-year-old is in the process of learning. And the yogis would also say, turn within. So they would say that when we are able to respect ourselves, that is when we will be able to respect others. That is when we will be met with respect as well. So whatever it is that we seem to be seeking, so let's use approval, if we want to use that word. Turn within. And I think as well, you mentioned that you've learned to be an amazing friend to yourself.
Yes.
So for every listener, please cultivate that ability.
Yes.
Learn to be an amazing friend to yourself. Learn to be an amazing companion to yourself. Learn to be an amazing partner to yourself. Learn to give yourself a sense of, whatever the right way to put this is, strength and steadiness and encouragement, and patting yourself on the back in a good way. Like, we did a good job with that, self. We did a really good job with that. That was really amazing. Good job. And then when you have that awareness within yourself of, oh, I set an intention to be steady and to be patient and to keep choosing peace, and I did that, it's working, then to say, I did that and it's working and I want to build on it. So I want to have that be part of this foundation that I'm building for my life. And so for every human to just be aware, every human has strengths. So be honest about what your strengths are. Like that 22-year-old, like you might be amazingly creative, or you might like math and engineering might be natural languages to you, or you might just like think in computer code. And be aware of what your strengths are. That's incredible. Claim and honor your strengths. And then just have self-awareness of, okay, and I'm healing this part of myself. So I'm strengthening this part of myself, and to know that for this particular time, that's where your growth is. And it's not a problem. So it's sort of neutral. Like when you're in contact with the light within yourself, that's just where you're learning. And so what happens then is self-judgment melts away. And as soon as self-judgment melts away, then you'll find that judging others also melts away.
Yes.
And so you're able to meet people as the light and the kindness that they are. And this is like, you're meeting humans on a level that is deeper than any slogan or any category or any judgment or any label that humans have ever come up with. And so you will also find that you have the ability to be friends with people from amazingly diverse backgrounds.
Yeah.
That humanly you would think, oh, I don't have a thing in common with that person.
Yes.
But as soon as you're a friend to yourself, you will just find, like the yogis talk about this as an ideal, but it can be lived in daily life, that we have the ability to be universal friends. We have the ability to be friends to all beings. And so that's really kind of like the ideal, like the highest or fullest expression is, be such a good friend to yourself that eventually you're able to be friends to all beings. You're able to be friends, honoring and respecting the light in all beings.
That is so good. You know what I think is happening between us? I mean, this, All right. This is another weird thing. Everything that I think that I want to then ask you, you answer.
Yay!
It's like I feel like we're sharing our brain waves right now.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
And
I mean,
I'm actually
intuition.
watching it happen.
Yeah.
Like I see it as a spiritual, like it's a supernatural thing. And I'm like, oh my, like I feel like I'm asking you questions without asking.
Yeah, no, it's very natural. I mean,
Yeah.
so, and I would also just say with great joy and with great respect, all humans are connected. And
Yeah.
so you're just noticing the connection. It's so beautiful. I mean, what a precious thing to know we're all
Yeah.
so connected. And every human has the ability to connect with this insight, this wisdom, this awareness. And I mean, so I think some people would call that intuition. And I would also say all humans have the ability to connect with intuition as well.
Yes. It's there's these like two things I wanted to ask you. So one is I would do this thing when I saw clients, I would have them describe their best self and their worst self and like draw a picture of it and name it and like whatever it was, right? So then and I think we're conditioned and we're taught to believe that our worst, which I wouldn't even call that, but the parts that someone believes is their worst parts, whatever, that people believe that, oh, you showed your true colors, that's your real self. And I would explain to them, well, let's think about it. How do you show up when you're in your worst self? Like fear, irritability, like judgment, all those things, how we show up. And then how do you show up when you're in your best self, like generous, confident, loving, right? And we are conditioned. I know that just even in the church, conditioned that happiness is a sin, like being, thinking so well of yourself and, all this, like that self-love, well, let's call it I call a big bullshit on that one, by the way. Anybody sorry that I couldn't hold it back the whole time. But anyhow, so now I'm like, so then I've posed to people, that's probably your real self, like when you're in your best, highest self-love and confident, like it's you, and then all you want to do is love and give, right? But then when we're afraid, that's when we're judging, right? I feel like all judgment is fear, right?
So yeah, just to reflect back to you,
Yes.
um, so at the core of each of us, our true nature, we've been using different words to describe it. It always goes beyond words, but our true nature within each of us is kindness, it is light, it is generosity, it is sharing, it is creativity, it is wonder, it is inventiveness. And so when we are our true selves, we naturally share strength. We share from that strength. And when we are our true selves, there's no sense that any of us is better than another, and also no sense that any of us is worse than another. And so there's just like, like my hand can help my other hand if my hand needs help.
Yes.
And so it's just natural. Like one hand, of course, would help the other hand.
Yes.
And so there's just like this effortless circulation and, pouring forth of the energy of pure love, the energy of gladness and generosity. And so that is our true nature. Absolutely. And so anything other than that, I think what happens is humans experience being judged, and it's very painful. And so then we can forget, we can lose contact with, oh, well, that's my true self. My true self is this energy of kindness. And actually, even let's give the example of, I've heard people talk about being bullied when they were kids. Certainly a completely miserable experience for the
Yes.
person who's on the receiving end of that.
Mhm.
And when you move through and connect with your own wholeness on the other side of that, you will realize that only a person who is deeply miserable
Yeah.
could have directed such behavior at another human. And
Yes.
so you'll have awareness that that behavior arose out of misery. I also want to be very clear, I'm not endorsing or recommending
Oh,
that behavior for 1 second, but for a person who has experienced that, it can take some patience and some steadiness and kindness to learn to be open-hearted with yourself, and then to allow yourself to be open-hearted with others, to create a sense of being able to trust yourself, and then to create a sense of being able to trust others as well. And so just for any human, whatever experience you've had, on the other side of that, there are spiritual gifts, like there are gifts of wisdom, and there are gifts that will allow you to help others who have experienced pain as well. So don't seek out the pain, but
Yeah,
whatever
right.
pain you have encountered, also, there's no need to be afraid of it. There's no need to be afraid of it. And you are stronger than any experience that has happened.
Yes, yes. So profound. Do you what do you, let's say someone is like, really repeatedly um attempting, I know sometimes if I'm anxious or whatever, I'll just keep saying, I receive the peace of God, or like it's just like this, I don't know, maybe I don't want to call it a battle, because I think
Yeah,
anything we struggle against owns us, but
yeah,
um it's almost like the sounds are, the thoughts are so loud.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious what you say about that.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
so I guess we could put a little subheading that's like specific practical techniques
Let's do
that
it.
people can
Okay,
use.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So for
Let's
anyone,
do
like
that.
you just gave the example of like whatever the thoughts are that are loud. So one of the things I can give, so my teacher, Swami Nityananda, he was also very practical. And he would say, like, sometimes you actually need to go outside. Like sometimes you need to go outside for 5 minutes. Go
Mhm.
sit under a tree if you can sit under a tree, or like if you're in a place where it's okay for you to take off your shoes and have your feet on the grass, take off your shoes, have your feet on the grass. You can actually stand up. So right now I'm seated in a chair,
Yeah.
and you can actually stand up and shake your body. So if you like
Yes.
to dance, dance. But also, I mean, you can just, I'll shake my arms here and show you. Like you can
Yes.
just shake your arms and
Yes.
your wrists and your hands. You can shake your head, your shoulders, your hips, your legs and your feet. And it can actually kind of like just humans, we are very, I'll use the word energy.
Yeah.
We are energetic. And so if we've been in a particular posture for a long time, and so for anyone who works at a desk, or who like, is a chef and is like chopping a lot or something, or
Yeah.
who's who drives a lot, like whatever or you're on your feet a lot, whatever your profession is, your body acquires particular patterns in relation to your habitual posture. And so to just shake it up, to just shake it up, and that can actually get the energy moving. And as the energy moves, you can have like this freshness of perspective, and you can then regain this memory of, oh, well, that's not my true nature. My true nature is absolute peace. My true nature is absolute joy. So anyway, those are a couple of techniques. Breath is also incredibly helpful. So let's just say, so I'm going to use the example of someone who has experienced grief. There can be like a tightness in the chest, and sometimes there can be like a tightness around the throat, like a physical feeling of
Yeah.
constriction around the throat or around the chest. And if you just allow your breath, breathe into your own heart, and just allow the energy of pure love to fill your own heart, it can start to loosen those knots. Like yogis use the metaphor of knots, like energy can get tied up or
Yeah.
it can flow freely. And so you're basically just using this breath of pure love, breathe it into your heart. It will melt away. If you're experiencing heavy grief, be tender and patient with yourself, but it will gradually melt away the layers of grief. The other thing that I would say, if anyone's encountering grief, do not be afraid of it, and give yourself permission. So if you have the ability to be in a room with yourself with a box of Kleenex, maybe light a candle. If you like to light a candle, allow yourself to cry. Don't censor it. Just, give yourself half an hour of quiet. And what you might find, if you're not trying to stuff your crying down, is that it's like a fresh spring rain, and it just sort of blows through you. And then after the rain blows through you, there's a feeling of relief.
Yes.
There's a feeling that the air has cleared. And grief can come in waves. And so to just be very steady and patient with yourself, to work with yourself, to know that this is a process, to keep going, but also to not be afraid to allow yourself to feel what you feel and to allow your own heart to be open to yourself and to let yourself cry in the privacy and the quiet of your own room, and then to get up and to keep moving about your day, and to know that step by step, little by little, you will move through this and you will reconnect with what you might call, like, there's an original joy that is here for each of us. So you will reconnect with that. So steadiness and patience and kindness with yourself. And then what you'll find, if you practice this with yourself, if you practice being steady and patient and kind with yourself, you will enormously increase your ability to be steady and patient and kind and present in relation to others, no matter what the emotions is that they are experiencing. You'll just be able to be present, and you will have not only a presence, but also a responsiveness that will be able to share through you. So you'll know, like, sometimes a smile is the best response, or sometimes silence is the best response, or sometimes there's like a sweet, simple few words that it's possible to share, and that's the best response. And so you will be connected with that energy of resourcefulness that shares. And this is true not only for our personal relationships, but also for our business relationships. Like, you will also have, like, this is just this energy of, we were earlier calling it intuition. It's a natural connectedness, a natural insight, a natural inspiration. Every human is always connected to it. And the more that you practice this, just being present, being right here, right now with what is, the more that is able to share itself with you.